This week, Sam and I get to talk to Nuggets superfan Hannah Brown. This episode is full of fun facts about the Nuggets, Seacacus, New Jersey, and why people hate the Celtics. We start with a check-in from Sam's mom. I do a quick recap of the game. Then we get to Hannah's lists of what she loves and hates about the Nuggets. As always, we finish with our MVP, LVP, most confusing part, and what we learned. It's our best episode yet. This is season 1, episode 7, *9, because the first 2 are with August. And today, so excited, Hannah Brown is our guest.
Welcome, Hannah.
Thanks.
So Hannah is my friend for 20 years, and I didn't know she knew about basketball. I thought she knew all things pop culture. That's usually what we talk about is reality shows.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started this journey and found out Hannah knows a lot about basketball and I think everything about the Nuggets. True?
Maybe. I mean, I don't want you to quiz me or anything.
Did you grow up rooting for the Nuggets?
Funny story. So I did grow up in Colorado, and when I was a kid, I remember my dad and brother were going to a Nuggets game. The only Nuggets I was familiar with was McNuggets, and I was very angry that I couldn't go. Why am I not getting the McNuggets? So that was my early exposure. But actually, I was really a big football fan, college and pro. But then my husband, who moved here from Texas, he was a Nuggets fan, and so he kind of got me into it. And now I've far surpassed him in fandom. I'm watch a lot more of the games, and I'm following a lot more of the Twitter convo.
Okay, we start with reviews and a check-in from Sam's mom.
Right. Well, my buddy Dan Thompson said, good to hear your voice, especially talking about the Celtics. They should have had you replace Mike Gorman. And then he said, your partner's really funny too.
Amazing.
Love her would you rathers.
Yes.
And then my mom sent a long text. She confirmed the Green Light special is a rest review. And then she mentioned that she's seen Mazzulla ask players, did you touch it? Did you touch the ball? Did you foul him? In order to get their opinion on whether he should review or not. It's kind of a nice thing, trusting your players and giving them voice in the game and all that. Brian Scalabrine has very little patience with the length of time the refs use to review the play. And Dad says the NBA isn't. And then switching topics, you had asked about, maybe that's on this podcast. You were confused about what's a foul and what's not.
Every podcast. Every episode.
You're not alone. My dad, who's been doing something with basketball for close to 80 years, said that the NBA is in trouble because of how randomly fouls are called. And I think all calls. Then she had a story about Mike Gorman, who was the Celtics' old announcer. My parents went to a Celtics game in Orlando, and she said Mike was on the floor chatting with someone. He was no more than 4 feet away. I said, we love you, Mike. He stopped talking, turned to face me, took a step toward me, made good eye contact, and said, thank you for saying that.
Oh, wow.
Right. Really sweet story from, a relatively high-profile guy. She said it was a true highlight of her basketball experience.
But now this is the new highlight?
Yeah, right. Being on this podcast or featured on this podcast.
Or listening to the...
Or even, this is the high watermark of her basketball experience. And then she said, I couldn't quite follow this. She said, when we see Mike at home games since he retired, so he still goes to the Celtics games, she wrote, he sits in row 1 or 2 under the basket. Under the basket is in all caps. She said, I never understood that. We did that once and I thought it was awful. I guess the perspective on the court or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem like the basket kind of in the way, and all the photographers, the videographers are down there. I don't know.
Yeah, he spent 40 years sitting on the sideline, so maybe a change in perspective is what he's looking for. Anyway, she said, looking forward to the next podcast. BTW, who is August?
We do talk about August a lot.
August is Irish's son, Mom.
He's 14.
He's 14, just like Noah, basketball playing freshman in...
Yeah. And currently about 6'3".
Right. Even taller than Noah, who's tall at 5'10".
Yeah.
I shout out to Noah. I donated money for a foul shooting fundraiser that he did. He was going to shoot 100 free throws and the money goes you pay money for whatever, some very worthwhile charity thing. I want to get on the record that I'm for charity.
Oh, okay. We're taking a stand
on this podcast. Everyone should know that. And He made 80 free throws
Wow.
out of 100.
Whoa.
Good shooter.
That sounds exhausting just to shoot that
Shooting.
much.
But
But,
pretty good.
80%?
Shout out to Noah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even I know that's impressive.
Yeah.
And I'm new to this. Okay. Tonight at this game, there was no Aaron Gordon, no Derek White, and no Jokic. And Hannah, why do you think Derek White wasn't playing?
I just assumed he was hurt. No?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was
They did-
an illness.
Oh,
Mm.
do you think he flew to Denver?
I don't know.
Like his people
And
are
like
there.
maybe his mom picked him up at the airport.
Yeah, and took him to Parker.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you look tired. Come,
Yeah.
Why don't you come have some soup at home instead of playing?
Probably.
I bet-
Put a hat on, for goodness sakes. Your hat's gonna get so cold here.
Okay, the coaching staff was wearing red at this game. I have never seen them repeat an outfit.
So it's a big deal when the game is a national game, and it is a like great matchup if all people are playing. So that's why there wasn't an altitude broadcast either, is because they don't do the broadcast when it's on national TV. So like when TNT or EM pick up the games, then the local broadcasts don't. The games are blacked out unless you have cable for those too. So maybe the coaches dressed up for the national TV coverage.
That seems kind of unfair that like the big games aren't broadcast locally.
I also don't like it because the national reporters like just don't know us very well. And so they're always like telling us stuff we already know, or they're saying like dumb stuff.
Sounds like I'm ready to be a national broadcaster.
You're there. You've reached that level. Do you watch every game, Hannah?
No, because some of them are so late.
Yeah.
On a work night, like I'm not going to be up till like 11 watching a game. But
Yeah.
for all the ones that I can, I do.
So I had a note on here that just like I was thinking, like, I wonder how much the altitude affects visiting teams. Okay, because then I was also looking into DeAndre Jordan because I wanted to learn more about him. And I found a quote on Instagram that said, like, that he can tell when they've been on the road for a long time and then they come back and, like, it's so hard to run. Tell me your thoughts on altitude.
Well,
and
first of all, have
visiting.
you seen that guy run on the average day? Like he's not like a runner. P.S. I heard that one of his nicknames, because he was briefly vegan, was the big lettuce or La Lechuga Grande. And I just love that so much. The thing with the altitude, I hate when the announcers talk about it. These are elite athletes. Do you know how many millions of dollars they spend to like keep their body in peak condition? I get it if you get here and for like 2 hours you're a little winded, but you acclimate quickly. You travel for a living. You fly for a living. If it was such an advantage, the Nuggets would have more than one championship. The Utah Jazz would have. It's just a thing to talk about. And like none of the local broadcasters talk about it. Like it's just the media makes more of it than it is, in my opinion. Like we've been eating the Lakers lunch for like the last 3 seasons, which is glorious because they ate our lunch for the previous, 45 seasons, however long.
Yeah.
How many times they knocked us out of the playoffs. And like they just started obsessively talking about it. And I'm like, no, like we are winning.
Okay, so I'm going to give a little overview of the game. Okay. I'm going to try and summarize it very briefly. Quarter 1, Porzingis dunks. Then he accidentally gets kneed in the privates and he has to sit down for a while.
That doesn't quite do it justice. He got like destroyed. I thought his season was over the way he collapsed. It was like violent. And because he's always hurt. Porzingis is always hurt. He's like 7'4" and his ankles are made of
baby.
glass. And and every time he jumps, I'm like, oh, there's the season. It's over. And the way that he fell down, I was like, his season is actually over. And then they showed the replay in like uber slow motion. And it was just like, oh my God, it was violent. It was awesome.
But he played later.
Yeah.
He got back in. Okay, quarter 2. Sam Hauser gets a 3.
Did anyone high five him?
No.
Oh, poor guy.
Strother gets a 3. Peyton Watson is having a really good game. And then Westbrook gets a 3 and ties the game. Russell with the hustle. Okay, quarter 3. Michael Porter Jr. dunks, and then the ball goes out of bounds, and Michael Malone swats Westbrook on the ass. That happens a lot.
Constantly.
Okay. Then Michael Porter Jr. got goaltending. And here's where I've grown. He did it, and I didn't know it was goaltending, but I knew he had done something wrong.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, quarter four, Celtics were up by 5, but then Nuggets tied it again. Okay, then at the end of the game, they didn't end with a million fouls.
Right.
Good job, guys. 118-106 final. And I think that my takeaway, I think Peyton Watson had a really good game. Like he didn't score the most, but like I think he looked really good.
I didn't notice him so much. There was a lot of talk about like how this may actually like have been good for the Nuggets to go a couple games without Jokic, and they lost this, but to need to figure that out a little bit. And they acquitted themselves pretty well. They had a real chance to win this, to hang with the Celtics and have it be a game in the fourth quarters. Was pretty good without their best player.
Okay, so I'm going to go into briefly the announcers said. I always make fun of what they say because I think at times it's so ridiculous. These people were national TNT commentators. They said 3-point land, which we've heard before, which I think is dumb. Tatum with the two-handed jam when he dunks. I thought that was stupid. No?
It's a thing. Two-handed jam's a real thing. I don't think
that's a thing.
It's okay that you don't like it, but that's like definitely part of the vernacular for sure.
Okay. Then again, they said Jaylen Brown is shaken and bacon, which we've talked about. I also don't like that. And then after an amazing dunk, Jaylen Brown packs it down. So I don't like that. So I also came up with some ideas of other things that rhyme with Brown. Jaylen Brown makes the Nuggets frown.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown isn't a clown. Jaylen Brown, give him a crown.
Oh, I think he'd like that.
Takes the Nuggets to Pound Town.
You just came up with that off the top of your head. Wow.
Yeah.
You could be a color commentator. Okay, so now this is my questions part, but I only have 2, and one I already answered. There was a call that they were reviewing, and it said the person explaining it was Kane Fitzgerald, and it said he's the VP of referee ops, and I didn't know what that meant.
Well, in all sports, they'll sometimes, like, especially NFL games, they'll like bring in like a retired official and just like, what is your take on this? While we sit here in silence and they stare at the TV. I think they're just trying to fill the space. But do you know, one of my favorite things about the review is that the review office for every game in the league is in Seacacus. You know about this in New Jersey?
Well, I read that he was moving from Florida to Seacacus, but I don't know anything about Seacacus, New Jersey.
So they'll have different types of reviews that like the refs in the game don't review. I don't know like what qualifies, but it'll go to the league referee office, which is very randomly just in Secaucus, New Jersey. And they have like this wall of TVs and the refs are like reviewing like every pixel to see what the ruling is. I just think Secaucus is hilarious. Like it's not like they're like, we have to have a place where there's no NBA team so they don't think we're going to favor them or something. I just think it's very random. I always want them to like show Secaucus, show us what's happening in Secaucus.
I would love to see that. You brought us a list of your 10 favorite and least favorite things about the Nuggets.
Yeah. Jokic famously, like when they come out of the tunnel to warm up before the game, he like runs as fast as he can toward the other basket. And, you know, he runs kind of like a horse. It's not like poetry in motion when he's running. But lately I have noticed that Christian Brown is joining him in the run and they're racing to and I love it so much. And I just think they're going to be best friends. It's adorable.
Playful.
I also really love Christian Brown's celebratory scream. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like he'll score.
No.
And what we didn't know, he was also a college champ and a high school champ. And then his rookie year in Denver, champions. So like that guy's just a winner. He doesn't know how to lose. But like we didn't know anything about him that year. And then when we started getting excited about the screams, all the Kansas fans where he played and won would like send these like mashups of like 45 Christian Brown scream. Like it's this very like emotional thing and I love it. And when he does it, I also scream with delight. A third thing I love is after the game, the Nuggets win only, the Nuggets PR staff will film the coach's like speech to the team afterward. It's always so inspirational. And I always say like, but I just wake up to like coach's beautiful words boosting me up every morning. But it's like when he reads off a bunch of stats, says nice things about people, and then he gives this like defensive player of the game award to whoever like had the best thing. And he gives them each year the like chain that they get to wear as a result of that, the DPOG chain, and is ridiculous. And you can buy like knockoffs at the stadium, and it's hilarious. And I don't know what happens in there when they lose. It may be really ugly, but when they win, it's like this beautiful family gathering. And so I love Coach Michael Malone for that. Number 4 is my favorite Nuggets play is Aaron Gordon's just like wandering around on the baseline. Yoke finds him and he does the 2-handed dunk. It's the best. Can we do that all day, every day? That's the play I want to call every time. There was a post-game interview where like somebody asked Yoke, like, how do you always find, how does Aaron always get to the basket? And Jokic said, he has that dog inside of him. One of my favorite Jokic quotes, and we say that all the time. That's beautiful. Number 5, I love Katie Wingy, who is she gets to call like every other game. I love her because she's so smart. Like her basketball IQ is so high. She's saying much smarter things than anybody else is saying. And she doesn't say things like, Irish, I think you will appreciate this, putting on the Ritz, boom shakalaka, he's on his horse. These are the things that the Nuggets announcers say. And like, God love them. But guys, I don't even know. He's on his horse. But Katie Wingy is like so great. And she just won Colorado Sportscaster of the Year. And so and that the Nuggets let her call games.
Yeah.
She trades off with Scott Hastings. And I just love that they gave her that opportunity and that she's so good at it. I have 2 more things that I love, then just a couple hate things. Of the emergence, this was mentioned earlier, of Peyton Watson. Like he's really just like blooming and blossoming. Peyton Swatson, like these swats that guy is making, unbelievable. And he's really good at not fouling them when he does it, like because that's the hard. Okay, here comes the F word. So right after the game, Jokic is in the press conference and they're like, are you excited for the parade? And he goes, what? They're like, there's going to be a parade. And he's like, no, I have to get home. Like, I have to get home to Serbia. And like, he was like, really? That he had to like stay in town for the parade, which is hilarious to Nuggets fans. Like, I feel like other fans like don't get it, but we thought it was amazing. But then he goes to the parade. He is very drunk in a funny and nice way. And he gets to the mic and he says, I did not want to stay on parade. And everyone hears. And then he goes, I changed my mind. I fucking want to stay on parade. Just think he was like convinced how amazing a parade was and he never wanted it to end. Okay. My least favorite play of the Nuggets is sprint to the 3-point line and throw up a brick. Because like if you just went for a layup, you would get 95% of the time. And so I have this theory that like if we didn't shoot any threes, and instead we didn't waste so many possessions on throwing up these bricks, we could have so many more points inside the paint. And I just like for one day want coach to like just try it as an experiment to see, like, if we stop shooting threes entirely, we would score every possession. Like, if we were rebounding with our guys, we can get under the basket. We, like, can power up and put the ball in the hoop nearly every possession. And I just think we would score so many more points this way. I also have to think, like, the coaches probably know better than me, but I just want to try it.
Maybe Michael Malone is going to listen to this episode.
I hate any reference to Carmelo Anthony, like any comparison, anything. Like,
why?
He won't go away. Like, so he left Denver to go to the Knicks, which is fine. Like, you don't want to be in Denver. Yeah, go to the Knicks, go to your big media market. He never was very good there. They didn't win anything there. We just don't think he's a champion. Like, he doesn't play defense. Like, he was a really frustrating player. And when he left, it was like unpleasant and nobody liked him. But since then, every day, maybe like me, he's on a different podcast saying about the Nuggets. And I hate it. He even, like, at the end of last season, he was talking about how the Nuggets purposefully gave Jokic Carmelo's number, so they both wear 15, to make Carmelo feel bad. And I'm like, bruh, he was drafted 32nd during a Taco Bell commercial, and they're like, let this guy is gonna make us all forget Carmelo. Like, I just think he's obsessed with us, and I am obsessed with us forgetting him and retiring his number under Jokic's name and not his. Two things I'm iffy on. Russell Westbrook. We've always loved Russell Westbrook on other teams. And when he came here, we were so excited. And we went to the game opening night, and it was so bad. His, like, when he's bad, he's like catastrophically, embarrassingly bad. It's not like a subtle badness. It's like acrobatic, kamikaze, like 14 people involved in the melee. It's like so bad. But at the end of the night, and you're like, he's really contributing. But I feel like he was, because I just remember these like horrible botched, alley oops, and he's always on his butt. Like, he's always falling. I don't know. But I also think he has what we call bus eyes, which is just like if you've ridden a city bus, there's like a desperation in some of the riders' eyes, a little crazy, a little nervousness, a little like, when am I stop? And I think Russell has bus eyes. And I don't know if they make him better or worse. So I just like, it's kind of day to day with me whether I'm excited about him or not. But he definitely brings energy to the team. My last thing that I have mixed feelings about is the Jokic brothers. Are you familiar with the brothers?
No.
Very large Jokic brothers. They live in Denver. They live in his house. They moved here to be with him. One of them played for the NBA briefly. They're like massive dudes, bigger than Jokic. And from Denver in a Lamborghini with a license plate that says Jokic. Like, a Lamborghini is like the least Nikola Jokic thing you can imagine. And so it's weird. One of them recently committed felony assault, allegedly, on somebody at a Nuggets game. So that's like in the no column against that, though he does say he was defending somebody else. But when we won a championship, they like came down to the court and they were so excited, and they picked up Coach Malone and they threw him in the air like he was a rag doll. And I am obsessed with it. I love it. They love Coach. They love the team. They're at every game. But they're questionable. So I just think I'm not sure about them yet. Maybe we'll see how this case rolls out.
How do they fit in a Lamborghini?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I mean, surely like one can be in there at a time. Ago, there was a player for, I don't know if it was the Mavs or somebody else, who like had a cheap shot foul on Jokic, and Jokic turned around and like cheap shotted that guy. And I think it maybe ended his career. But the brothers got on Twitter for the sole purpose of taunting that guy's brother. They had 2 tweets ever in the years since and the years before. And they were talking to that guy's brother. And there's something really charming about that,
Totally.
I think this should move over to your thing you love list, not the thing you hate list.
Yeah. We're watching you talk yourself into it all the time.
But the felonies, it's hard.
We all make mistakes.
Defending someone. Did I see on your list? Was Rocky on your list?
Oh yeah. I mean, I hate mascots generally, but talking about felonies, the previous Rocky, the person who used to be in Rocky until like last year, had several alleged domestic assault cases against him. And I just think he's an asshole. But I saw an interview with the guy who was that guy, and he's like, his hair is dyed like neon blue. And you're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, you were Rocky. So I don't know anything about the current Rocky, but I did hate the old one.
You had real reasons. It was like the character of the guy inside the costume. Who's the real Rocky? He's a felon.
Do you have more on the list, or is that the list?
That's the list. I mean, I could probably go on for days, but I feel like I got to cut it off.
So while we have a Nuggets pro here, or a Nuggets aficionado here, give me like 2 minutes on how you feel about this season. It's been really like kind of a wild run since they won that championship, with Murray being hurt and them kind of shedding players and salary, and people seem a little bit disappointed. And I'm wondering what it's like kind of from the view from Denver from a fan.
Yeah. So I think after the championship season, like losing Bruce Brown that season and then losing KCP this season, like that was those are obviously like you really feel those gaps in the play right now. Last season, I think we really did expect to repeat because we had everybody back but Bruce. And what I heard was that by the end of the season, they had tried so hard to get the number 1 seed so that they could have home court advantage that they really just burnt themselves out. And then by the time they got to the playoffs, they just had no legs. Like they were just too tired to go on. And so that was kind of heartbreaking because you feel like Jokic has this window. Jokic, on Aaron, all of them, like there's this window where we're going to win. And like that was a huge missed opportunity. And I feel like also last season, coach, the GM got all these young players like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson and stuff like that to like train them up to like make the bench really strong so that the starters could go out for a while. And that just coach didn't give players that chance. And so the starters were just so burnt out in the playoffs and you could just feel it. And so that was a huge disappointment. So it felt like over the off season, there was a lot of talk about like not making the same mistakes. And then it felt like when they came out, they just started making them again. Also, like there's no denying Jamal has not been Jamal. And I think when you juxtapose that against him just getting that max deal, it leaves kind of a gross taste. Nobody wants to do better than Jamal. And I like agree. Jamal is also hating this slump, but it's really hard to watch. And I think there's some locker room issues. Like there was Aaron Gordon tried to like get everyone in a huddle on the court and Jamal just like walked away. Like there's a few like cracks that we just haven't seen in this team. They've had such a strong like locker room and leadership structure. So it does feel like, oh no, are we going to waste another year of having the best player in the league and not winning? But I will say, I feel like the last few games, Jamal's really starting to turn it around. I think he's starting to like get healthier. He has plantar fasciitis, which they don't talk about a lot. And I think he just plays through it. But you've seen him, especially in these games without Yoke, like really finding his game a lot more. And that's why I think it was so important, like you were saying, that they had that chance against the Celtics and that they did pretty good. And then they won the next night. And even that night, I don't think hopeless, but it felt that way the first few games. I even wonder, like, have we won 4 in a row yet? I don't know. It feels like we just have these sparks and then we lose it again. And I don't know if it's a hangover from last season, but it feels perilous and stressful.
Yeah. Thanks for that. It's hard. It's like the thing I've been reading. I don't really understand the new salary cap stuff, but it seems like it's nearly impossible to be a great team and have any bad big contracts on your team. Like you can't do it. And that like for the Nuggets, that feels really scary because they just signed him for a long time for a lot of money. And if he's not going to be himself again, that's Jokic's window. It's over, you know?
The other problem is one of the biggest contracts on this is going to blow your mind. Third highest player, if you're just going by annual salary, is Zeke Naji. Haven't heard of that guy? Because he's played 4 minutes the whole season. He's supposed to be the backup center. And like they put DeAndre in instead. Old man, big lettuce. They put in instead, like heal the ice packs off of his knees and push him onto the court instead of this like young guy that paid so much money. And I think when they were talking about trades recently, I think Najee was the thing they were trying to get rid of, his contract, and nobody would. They were like, you fools did this to yourselves.
Yeah.
And so if we were going to get rid of Zeke's contracts, it had to have somebody like Christian Brown or Peyton Watson or MPJ in it. And like, I'm glad they didn't do that because I feel like those are really strong pieces and we'd be really struggling. And what we really need is a solid backup who can give Jokic a rest so that when Jokic goes to the bench, we don't tank. We don't like just ruin ourselves. But I think Jamal coming out of it, MPJ, I feel like has really turned a corner as well. I'm feeling more hopeful now than I have all the rest of the season. Every time Zeke Najee's face is on the camera, I'm like, you sit down, you go to the locker room, you do the laundry, like do something.
Think about what you've done. Okay, I have one more question. I'm on a little bit of a mission to find out why the Celtics are so disliked among NBA fans, because like on paper, to me, they seem very likable. Like there's not a lot of controversy on their team. Personality wise, they're like very kind of unremarkable, but I can't figure out why people are so turned off by them. Can you give me like a minute on that?
Yeah. And we've just met. And so I don't want you to take this personally.
Hey, we're the champs. You say what you got to say.
It's the Celtics fans. They're the worst. They're so obnoxious. Like, I don't want to see those people win. Also, Kyrie Irving was a Celtic for X amount of time, right? And then left in a bad way. And the way the Celtics fans treat him now, like when he was like crossing half court after he went to the Nets, I think, and he stepped on Lucky and then like got death threats for stepping on the low. Like, guys, you just take yourself seriously. Also, I think like, how many championships do those motherfuckers have? Like, let the rest of us get some. Like, you don't need to like be this extra about Lucky and like everything when you've got like the most championships of anyone. Well, maybe the Lakers have more, but they got a bunch.
No, we have more. We have more.
Okay, sorry. I knew you'd know. So it really is about the fans.
All right, that helped.
Now we know.
Are you offended? Have you internalized this in a way we should talk about?
No, I'm good. I'm. It's very easy to get criticism when you're the world champs. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Softens the blow.
yeah, I'm not too fussed.
I have a game. Do you want to play a game, Hannah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I have a bunch of quotes here. And so Hannah watches Bravo, I think more than me. Real Housewives.
I don't have kids, so I have a lot of time for TV.
God bless you.
I watch Real Housewives of OC, Salt Lake City, and then New York. Which franchises do you watch?
I watch all of them except I catch OC every once in a while, but I don't really watch it that much. I'm kind of in and out on Atlanta, which who even knows if it's coming back, and I didn't watch Dallas, but all the others.
Okay, well then, so I'm going to read a quote, and it's either a Real Housewife tagline or a quote from an NBA player.
Ooh, the Venn diagram of my interests have really come together.
And since Sam I don't think you've ever seen The Real Housewives.
Never.
Okay, so when they start, they play like sassy music, and then a woman comes out and she'll be like, I may be a teacher, but I've never, it's like a stupid thing they say.
You sent me how to find my own.
Yeah, and what's yours?
Don't come for me unless you want to have it all.
That's good.
Mine is the secret to this pretty face is know everyone. Hannah, do you have yours?
When you come to Bluestone Manor, you better make it nice, which is just like actual from one of the episodes.
Okay, ready? I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong.
I'm going to say Housewives.
Yeah, that was Dorinda. I'm going to give it 100% and we're going to have some fun.
A basketball player.
Yes, that was Anthony Edwards. When you take cheap shots, always expect a hangover.
I'm going to say NBA player.
No, that is Lisa Barlow, season 1. I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of things I'm not proud of, but it's only for other people to learn from.
Oh, Housewife.
No, that was Anthony Iverson. What's his name?
Allen Iverson.
I just wrote AI on here. Allen Iverson.
Interesting.
Okay, my goal is to do everything that people said I can't and wouldn't do.
Basketball.
Yeah, that was Jay Morant.
John Morant. He plays for Memphis. Here's a good local fact for you. He was suspended by the team for carrying a weapon, and where he carried it was to Shotgun Willie's after a Denver Nuggets game. There's like photos of like the gun in his leg surrounded by like ones and women at Shotgun Willie's.
Yes, but Shotgun Willie's is like, okay, not to like be too particular. I've been to neither of these places, but I would think if you're a Nuggets player, why are you going to Shotgun Willie's when you can just go to the Diamond Cabaret?
Because he's not a Nuggets player. He plays for the Grizzlies. He doesn't know any better. We're talking about John Morant.
This is John Morant. That was in Denver.
Shotgun Willie's is like one step above Hooters, I would say. Not that I've ever been there. I've never been there, but it's like just topless, right? Shotgun Willie's literally almost shares a parking lot with a Target.
Wow.
No, it does.
You gotta go to Glendale.
Okay.
That's right.
I will.
It's not even Denver. Okay. If you see me in a fight with a bear, pray for the bear.
Oh, Housewife.
That was Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. I even know who said that. Yeah.
My life may not be a fairy tale, but I'll always get a happy ending.
Oh, shit. That's the housewifiest thing anyone ever said.
Denise Richards.
I don't want to rule out an NBA player having said that.
True. That's true. I didn't check the quote.
Yeah.
To see.
Let's cross-reference that one.
Okay.
And get back.
He was maybe quoting Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Okay, now we're towards the end of the podcast where we do our MVP, LVP, most confusing part, and what we learned. Okay, my MVP of this game was Peyton Watson. He really stepped up. He looked great. I'm really proud of him.
I'm gonna go with Porzingis because I haven't watched the Celtics play at all this year, and it was I kind of forgot how good he is.
Oh, I thought it was because he went through like such undeniable agony and then got back out there and played.
Yeah, anyone who gets kicked in the nuts that hard deserves some kind of credit.
Yeah. Hannah, do you have an MVP for this game?
I didn't see it, but I'm gonna guess that three that Russell had in at the end of the second quarter that you mentioned was probably really revitalizing, turned things around before they went into the locker room.
I think so. Okay, LVP, this lady, she left her drink sitting by her seat. DeAndre Jordan backs up and he accidentally kicks her drink. And so she does not deserve to sit courtside. She was sitting right next to Scalabrine.
I'm going Jokic because I was really excited to see him play. I hadn't seen him play at all this year, and he had the sniffles. So we had the sniffles.
Not COVID.
Non-COVID sniffles.
Hannah, do you have an LVP for this game?
Yes, it's Zeke Naji. Always. Every single. I don't care if somebody else commits felony assault during the game. I'm still going with Zeke Naji.
Okay, most confusing part. Still, what's a foul? That's still confusing to me. Did you have a most confusing part?
Most confusing part, I'm going to go with like how hard I found it to watch the whole game. It was a slog.
Yeah.
And I really like basketball, but it was like, so I'm wondering about those feelings.
Soul searching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little existential.
Okay. Hannah, were you confused at all?
I think I'm going to slot Zeke Naji in here again. I just want to get as many plugs in this PR campaign I have about like why is he here? Why does he travel with the team? Why don't they like leave him back to like tidy up the locker room when they're gone? Like that like other people could sit. Like it's not comfortable seating on the bench. You see, like whenever a player comes back to the bench, they got to like squeeze in between the other tall guys. Like just leave him behind.
Okay, now we talk about what we've learned. And my takeaway of what I learned is how much you know about basketball. Because I had no idea all this time. We've been getting dinner together for 20 years. And I had no idea that you know anything about sports. But also, I never cared.
And I think that's why you didn't know.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe she talked about basketball a lot and you just totally tuned out.
Probably. It's possible. So did you learn anything this week?
I'm glad to like meet Sam. I feel like I have learned even more about the Nuggets. Like somebody talked about Brian Scalabrine with a straight face and like he wasn't one of the worst Celtics anyone's ever seen before. And I like that for you.
I learned the expression bus eyes, which is my new favorite. That's the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. I know exactly what you mean. Just this like borderline frantic, like something's got to change and like soon. This is not good.
Oh, I hope you adopt it and spread its usage across the world. Because I feel like it's like a really specific thing. And if you haven't seen it, then you don't deserve to know what it means. Like you have to have experienced.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's the whole thing.
Hannah, you're the best. What a treat.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. This is so fun.
Well, it was great to hang out with you.
Yeah, this was so fun. Good to see you.
You too.
Thanks, Hannah. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.